Good morning, everyone. We're just waiting to admit everyone. While we do that, it's only going to take a minute or so while we get everyone joining us, and then we'll get cracking. Good to go, I think. Yeah.
All right. Right then, guys. Firstly, massive thank you for dialing in and agreeing to spend your Valentine's Day morning with us. Quick little introduction. What we're going to do today. My name's Stuart. I am the field-based BDM. We cover currently the south of the country. Joining me today to host the webinar will be Hema, who is our northern BDM, and James Enos, our national account manager.
Sure.
So the point of today's session, guys, is just run through some of the changes we've made across our product set. So some of you guys will have used it before, some of you might be brand spanking new to us. So just thought we'd give you a little introduction and a little update of where we sit currently in the market and just some of the changes that, again, we have made around that product setting. So should take no more than about 25, 30 minutes today. But any questions at all, please pop them in the chat facility, and I'll pick them up as we go along. And the majority of the presentation will be done by both Hema and James today, when we just chipping in now and again. So what we're going to do today is, first off, we're going to start with James, who's going to take us through the why. Why we're actually in the market, why we're doing certain changes, and what that market actually looks like at the moment. We'll then have a quick look at what the Hodge Resi and Hodge Resi Retire new proposition looks like for you guys, and explain that in a little bit more detail. We'll then look at the Hodge family and the types of customers we can now help and support for you guys. And then why Hodge? Why would you use us? So there's useful and interesting USPs, hints and tips about when you're trying to place business with us that you can use and take away to use with your clients. So we'll start off today, guys. I'm going to hand over to James, who's going to take you through the why we're in the market as we are now. Jay.
Thanks, Stu, and good morning, everyone, and happy Valentine's. Great to have you on board. As Stu's mentioned, so I'm going to sort of take the first section of this presentation today and talk to you a little bit about Hodge, how we've evolved as a business, and I suppose the background to why we have developed our propositions now to suit today's mortgage client. Okay. First slide I'm going to take you through is just to talk a little bit about what you see every day, which is the reality of what expectations you'll have from clients on a regular basis, and the change in which they now need so much more from you as brokers. I'm sure you see that on a daily basis, but clients' needs are much more complex than ever. They need more knowledge from the advisors. You yourselves obviously have got to deal with over 100 lenders and be able to identify the right type of products and propositions that suit your customers' needs. You need flexibility, or they need flexibility from you and from the lenders themselves, and just to understand all the options available. So it's pretty much a minefield out there for you guys, and it's really important for us, and we're really passionate about making sure that we educate you so that you can think of Hodge when you've got certain scenarios and certain customers that you think will fit and be a great candidate for us to support them. The other thing that is clear now in the market is nearly 90% of all mortgages are processed through intermediaries. Okay, if we go back to 2020, that was around about 50-50 with customers going direct to lenders and then to brokers as well. So it's been a key shift, and these reasons that are highlighted on this slide are the main drivers in why we've seen that shift. They understand that you as brokers can access lenders and their propositions that maybe they won't be able to get direct, and we're a perfect lender, an example for that. You can't come to us unless you're an intermediary. We will support you, we will support your client right the way through that journey, and we'll support you then when you get to a new rate towards the end of that, we always look to include you within that first port of call when they come to the end of the deal. So it's just about us holding each other's hand as such, a bit of a Valentine's scenario there, and taking the customer through the journey. So Hema, just want to go to the next slide. So I'm going to go through this first slide. It is not the sexiest slide, I'll be perfectly honest with you, but there's some really important detail in this slide. Okay, so we as Hodge have looked at really where clients developed from a point of view of what they need from a lender and what is it going to look like going forward in the future. Now, as Hodge has been a primary lender within the later life market, we will continue to do that. We don't offer equity release anymore, but we offer affordability-based products like the Hodge Resi Retire, which we're going to talk about in detail in a moment, and look to support clients right into retirement. We also help clients from the starting place, so 21 onwards, so right the way through that life cycle we'll support clients. This slide itself though illustrates where we're going to see a growth in population over the next 30 years. So this is from 2020 to 2050. These are details or projections from the Office of National Statistics, and you'll see there that the biggest increase in percentage of population is in the over 75s. Now it's quite a mind-blowing statistic, but it's a, I suppose, illustration of where we are as a population now. We're seeing people are living longer, they're living healthier, but they're also going to have a financial need as they run into those years. Now, we know as a nation that pensions aren't what they used to be. Your gilt-edged sort of defined benefit or final salary pension really are a rarity these days. And people are looking to find more and more different streams of income to support themselves as they go into retirement or through their normal everyday lives. So it's just, I think, a really important fact really to bring that to life of where you'll see growth. And there are trillions of pounds worth of equity in people's properties where they're going to have to consider using that to fund their lifestyle and to live basically as they go into those later years. Hema, do you want to move on to the next slide? So number of different drivers as well that we've looked at. So consumers now plan to rely on multiple sources of income. The job for life is a thing of the past, really. You'll be lucky to stay with the same employer right the way through, or if you're self-employed, you might have your business right the way through, understandably. But people jump from employer to employer. It's much more the norm these days, but also have other jobs or second jobs as well, and need lenders to consider that income to accommodate the mortgage. We do that at Hodge. You're also seeing clients who are generally self-employed working well past 65. We will consider employing self-employed income well past that point. Clients will either want to or have to. So there's two different dynamics there. You've got clients who have no appetite in retiring, and they feel healthy and they find it mentally stimulating and want that income to keep coming in right the way through past the traditional retirement age. And then you've got people who have to work, who will also be looking to carry on that employment into later years. Average first-time buyer has increased across the UK. 35 plus is the average. In the southeast and London, we're looking at nearly 40, and that is a real change from, if you go back, I suppose, 20 years ago, where maybe in your early 20s or mid 20s, you'd be looking for a mortgage to get onto the market at that time. So people are coming into the mortgages at a later age. Income's fallen behind house prices, so we've got to really, as a lender, look to try and evolve our affordability and what we look at to include in that affordability, and how much from a multiple point of view that we can, I suppose, stretch things to try and support customers of today, and also look at maybe more lengthier terms. Hema, if you go into the next slide. So that brings me on to, I suppose, my second side of drivers that are changing the way that lenders like Hodge are approaching supporting you as brokers and your clients. We've seen a real growth in longer terms over the last few years in particular. The trend really back in 2022, it saw a 17% increase in first-time buyers taking mortgages over 35 years. We're seeing, for the same period, we're seeing the average customer now 35% of those taking terms of, say, 30 or 35 years. We know that clients really have an expectation or are aware that they're going to be looking to take their mortgages well into retirement and maybe not pay it off until they're into their 70s. So these are all key drivers to why we need to support clients in a different way, and what we're looking to do and what we have done with our propositions at Hodge. Hema, I shall hand over to you.
Thanks, James. So we have rebranded our proposition. We've absolutely overhauled it. So historically, we had our professional mortgages, then we had our 50 plus, we've still got a Rio and a holiday let. However, we've rebranded the Hodge Resi, which is an enhancement to our professional mortgage proposition. With change comes an inclusive proposition, which is actually tailored for clients 21 and above with complex income. So as James has already alluded to, Hodge has been perceived as a later life lender. It's in our DNA. But Hodge Resi demonstrates we're more than that. We're reacting to the changing face of the market and how we can lend to all, from those who are first-time buyers to those much later in life and looking to upgrade their homes and move locations and support the wider families. So with the Hodge Resi, that takes clients up to retirement. And then the Hodge Resi Retire would take clients into retirement. So if your client's retirement age would go into retirement, it would be a Hodge Resi. If your client's retirement age would be before, if they plan to retire before, then it would be the Hodge Resi. If your client is looking for a lifetime term, then it would be the retirement interest only mortgage, which would mean that the end term would be when the client passes away or goes into long-term care. And then we've still got a holiday lets, which again, that sits in its own arena for clients who may be looking for an investment property or a second home or a holiday home. Then ultimately it could be a holiday let. So as I already mentioned, we are at Hodge committed to redefining the customer experience at every stage in their life, offering specialist solutions to help them achieve their financial goals. A strong focus on flexibility, customer-centric lending, and our experience in complex lending ensures borrowers are defined by the goals and lifestyles rather than the rigid criteria. So meet the Hodge family. We're all going to run through a case study each. I'm going to hand over to Stuart, who's going to give the case study of Paul and Sue. Over to you, Stu.
Cheers, Hems. Yes, guys. So I like to meet Paul and Sue, or as I like to call them, Mum and Dad. These are my parents. And Paul and Sue are historic Hodge customers. They are our bread and butter. Both retired, private pension, state pension, unencumbered properties. This is the type of lending we've been doing since the 1960s. It's the type of stuff we'll continue doing to the day we stop lending. There is still a massive market for the Pauls and Sues of the world. And we get these day in, day out as BDMs, myself, Hema, James. The guys on the phone will get the phone calls about the Pauls and Sues of the world, people looking to take money out of unencumbered properties for whatever reason it might be. It may well be to support their kids. So in this instance, supporting potentially me with a purchase, supporting their grandkids, maybe helping their elderly parents, because we do see a lot of that now. People in my mum and dad's situation in the late 60s, with the ever-increasing population and age in the UK, helping out their elderly parents potentially in their last purchase of their lives. It may well be the mum and dad want to do some home improvements. They could get to a point where the house they've got may not be suitable for them and they need to do some work to it, maybe a stair lift. The old man would love that, saving walking up the stairs on a Friday night after being down the pub. It may well be they want to buy a camper van or a property abroad to enjoy their retirement. These are our bread and butter customers. As I just keep saying there, that term bread and butter. We will continue to lend to these and look to lend to these and be that leading light in the later life space. We're known for it. We'll keep being known for it. And we'll keep doing things to help these types of customers with their needs going forward.
Thanks, Stu. So let me introduce you to Jason and Sophie. So I'm going to utilise this scenario to bring this case study on both the Hodge Resi and the Hodge Resi Retire. So they're classed like a sandwich generation, so they could fit in either or options. Sophie, IT manager, she's 45. Jason, 38, he's a mechanic. He was PAYE, but he's recently gone limited and self-employed. They're currently renting, and they've both got elderly parents with health issues. They've got a small deposit, but they're looking for the maximum borrowing. So again, what we're here to do is support them to maximise their affordability and then extend their term as long as possible. So we can, as I said, look at both options, the Hodge Resi or the Hodge Resi Retire. Again, if it all depends on when the retirement age is. So if they're looking for a 20-year term, then it would be the Hodge Resi. If they're looking for a longer term, then it would be the Hodge Resi Retire. But they've got a couple of options that it could fit into. But again, to elaborate on this, because their situation could change at any time. They've got elderly parents with health issues, so that would mean that they may need to sell up and move closer to them. So again, with our early repayment promise, that would enable them to do that as well. But what I will do is I'll touch on the early repayment promise towards the end, and I'm going to hand over to James now, who'll cover the next case study.
Cheers, Ham. So I wanted to put this case study in really to sort of bring to life the type of customer that we're seeing more and more of in Hodge, and I suppose also illustrate the art of possible within our underwriting, within our flexible common sense approach really to any scenarios that we get. So this is Jennifer and Graham. So this is a higher net worth type case study. You see that Jen's a senior manager on 150k, but interestingly, as more and more, I suppose, larger global firms are doing now, she gets part of her remuneration package in RSUs. So that's restricted stock units, okay? And that's part of her reward package, an essential part of what she needs a lender to be able to accept, to be able to maximize her affordability. At Hodge, we accept RSUs if they're paid in sterling. So we're able to bring that into the equation. We've got Graham, self-employed. Okay, Graham earns around about 120k, but to achieve that 120k, we had to look at his accounts a little bit different. Now, he had an all right year 2 years ago. He had a very good year this year, and had an outstanding year the latest year. But the latest year's accounts haven't been finalised yet. Okay, about 3 months before that. But what we can do is we can get an accountant's letter with a projection on that, okay? And by looking at that and by utilising the latest accounts and maybe taking an average, or even in some cases taking the latest year on the projection basis, we can help Graham and Jennifer maximise their affordability. We'll also take additional income, so we can take an investment portfolio and we'll take that as notional income. We'll take 5% of that those investments as well as part of income. Property portfolio they've got, which is 90% of the latest SA302, we'll utilise that as well. So all those different features, all those different aspects we can utilise to go in with the income spread to be able to maximise the affordability. Now, in addition to that, we have published criteria, but based on a client's circumstances and the strength of that circumstance, we can make decisions outside of criteria. In this case, this client wanted 90% on £2 million property. Now, our normal published criteria is much lower than that at 90%, but ultimately, based on the strength of the case, we were able to support this type of inquiry. So I think the message I want to leave you with on this particular case study is, if you have a strong case, if you've got a strong background from a customer point of view, don't rule us out based on what you see on criteria. Ask and bring the inquiry to us. So we'll talk a little bit about why Hodge, talk about the actual propositions, a bit of the detail now. So real life underwriting, I talked about the common sense approach. We support clients from 21 right up to 95 on a term-based products. Okay, so right the way through their mortgage journey, they could be supported by Hodge through our Hodge Resi and Hodge Resi Retire. We also offer the Rio, which obviously is a lifetime term, which helps probably those clients who either fall outside of some of the criteria on the Hodge Resi Retire, or they don't want an end date on their term. For various reasons, that might be the case. I've talked about future income streams. I've talked about projected income. That's something that we can be really strong with as long as we can get comfortable with what we're being presented with. Aspects like debt consolidation up to 75% on interest only can be really helpful when you've got clients who are looking to manage their finances and maybe tidy things up at a time when they may be purchasing a property or maybe remortgaging. and I've talked about some of the multiple sources of income. The beauty of where Hodge is we're well versed on using different types of income to support the mortgage. So that might be PAYE, that might be self-employed income, it might be contractor income, it might be retirement income, and it might be property, or it could be benefits income. All those different types of incomes are plausible, okay? And we can utilize those to support the mortgage application. Hema, I'll pass over to you.
Thank you. So we are here to maximize affordability for your clients. And just to highlight, we do assess interest only on interest only basis. I know there's other lenders out there who do assess it on repayment, but not at Hodge. We do assess it on interest only. We also are able to take earned income up to the age of 80, as long as it's plausible and the client's not doing a manual roll. We've also got enhanced LTIs. So on our Hodge Resi, if it's a remortgage, then and pound for pound borrowing with no additional borrowing, then it's 6 times income multiple. Purchase or remortgage at capital raising, it's a 4.49. However, if it's that's on interest only, and if it is for but if it's on remortgage in full capital raising again, for on the repayment side, at 80%, 80%, it's capped at 5.5. So again, we have enhanced that as well. Another big one we have done recently is our foreign nationals as well. So we've utilised that and making it more inclusive for our clients to sorry, I'll get my words out in a minute, to make it more affordable. So with that, what we have done is there's no minimum time for the clients if they're a foreign national. And then moving over to Stu now to do the last bit of the underwriting.
Ike, I'll silence you.
2020 again. Right. Yes, guys, just want to touch a little bit on property and what we can do potentially around that to help you with some of those more quirky little cases you might have. As you can see, the first one is the day one remortgaging or paying back a bridge. So there's a lot of lenders out there still got this 6-month ruling. We've got to own a property for 6 months. Well, we don't have that. So somebody is looking to buy a property potentially to auction, do a quick little bit of work to it, bring it up to standard, new doors, new windows, whatever it might be. We can still look to them to remortgage and pull maybe funds back out to them within the first 6 months. The minimum value of 100k should cover the majority of the country now. As you can probably tell from my voice, as some of you will know me, I'm up in the valleys. You even buy properties up here for over 100k now. Not like it was back in the day. So the 100k should cover the majority of the country for you there. But the big change we brought in was just properties with an annex. Now I've been in the industry, same as Hems and James, for a long, long time, and annexes were always this little niche part that a lot of lenders didn't really want to do, didn't really want to touch. And we've looked at it and thought, well, do you know what? You can make some really good gains within that sector. So if you've got someone, a savvy buyer potentially, who is looking to buy a family home, which has an annex on the side of it, to put a family member in, or to put the kids in when they come back from university on the weekends, or potentially to rent that annex out on short-term let Airbnb holiday lets, making that pay for the main residence itself, we're fine with them, as long as there's not more than a maximum 6 bedrooms across the entire property. So that's including the main residence and the annex off the back of it as well. All right. But if you've got anything like that, please pick up the phone and speak to us. Sometimes these can come with a little bit of caveats. So if you've got them, just speak to us first. We can speak to underwriting. With a smaller team, we can do that. And so we will do that off the back of it as well.
Cheers, Stu. So I think what we're going to do with this slide is just try and give you 3 clear takeaways to think about Hodge now going forward. So Hodge itself offers manual underwriting. We've got a nice, easy portal for you to be able to process your cases, but ultimately there'll be a human at the end of there assessing that case, going through the details, which is a really important part of the service that we offer when you're looking at some of the more complex scenarios and your non-standard stuff. Okay, where a wide range of income, plausible income, one of the widest in the market, will help you and your clients achieve more affordability. You might not think of some of the income that the client has got, there to be able to utilize. Ultimately, you just need to pick up the phone, speak to our team on the BDM team on the telephones, who are are jewel in the crown. They're dealing with affordability assessments on a daily basis. They understand, you know, what incomes might be available for different types of customers, and they're looking to try and find a solution for you and your client. We appreciate that you might not be dealing with Hodge type business every single day. We deal with it every single day, so why not utilize the support that there is there for you? Affordability, so enhanced LTIs, that's something else that obviously we are really, really strong with. As Hema's already mentioned, it's up to 6 times income up to 80% and 5.5 times income up to 90%. So again, opportunity to support your clients and look to try and maximize that affordability. You're on mute, Hems.
2 out of 3 isn't bad. So that's apologies. So as I was saying earlier on, I alluded to the fact about our early repayment promise. So how that basically works is it's available on our Hodge Resi, Retire, our Rio, and a holiday let. And in layman's terms, if that client needs to come out of their fixed period, be it 5 years, and in year 3 the circumstances change, they need to sell that property and relocate or move out for whatever reason, that's absolutely fine. We would allow that client to do so without them incurring any ERCs. However, the caveat to that would be if the client wanted to repay the loan within the fixed period and still reside in the property, then they would be subject to ERC. So it's when the client repays the loan, sells the property and moves out. So without further ado, that's more or less us wrapped up. Wanted to say a thank you from myself for your time today. And I'm going to hand over to James and Stu to give their final thoughts.
Thanks, Hems. Yeah, I just echo what Hems said there, guys. Massive thank you for dialing in this morning and giving us your time. We've got a question. Can we send the slides out? Yeah, that's no problem at all. We can arrange to get the slides sent out for you. Just on the screen there, you can see there's a QR code. If you want to scan that, it'll take you through to the BDM finder. It'll give you mine, Hema's, James's contact details. It also gives you the contact details of the desk there as well. So you've got you've got Laura and Martin, who support me in the south at the moment, Joe, who's looking after London, and you've got Kate and Alan, who support Hema up in the north. But at any point, guys, if you need us for anything, like I said, scan the code, get our contact details, give us a shout. If you want some more information or want us to catch up with you on a one-on-one basis, either this way or pop into the office for a cuppa, please just give me and Hema a shout, give James a shout, and we're sure we can all arrange that for you.
Cheers, Stu. And I really couldn't say any better than the guys have already said. It's just a case of thinking about Hodge, thinking about enhanced affordability, thinking about the multiple incomes and how we can support you in a common sense way. And that's enough for it from us today. Thank you very much for joining the webinar.
Thank you all.
Thank you, guys.
Cheers.